Smashing a big-ass hammer around has never been more satisfying, and with the Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian build, through leveling, you'll have just a blast playing this. Now granted, it is a little bit weaker at the beginning, but that will not last too long, as you will get access to your first legendary aspect and it will greatly improve the build. And judging by the nerfs that have been happening over the past days, this one build can still be super efficient and super fun while leveling, taking you all the way to 50 and to do your capstone. Now mind you, I do recommend having to play this on World Tier 1, because it's like, again, as I've said, it's a little bit weaker, and then after you get your capstone, you can change to World Tier 2 and move on towards it. This also can transform into an endgame build. We're gonna cover that in a separate video, but for now, it's all about leveling. If you decided to like take a new alt and level it, or you're just starting out your Diablo 4 adventure and decided to play a Barbarian, well, this build, Hammer of the Ancients build, is an easy one to play. It's super fun. It's like not that much skill involved, just a couple of things, a couple of positioning involved. It's one of the best you can have as a Barbarian. It all involves around maining your lunging strike to get fast to enemies. You may obviously have in the Hammer of the Ancients. These are like the abilities you're gonna have on your right and left click for your mouse, and the rest will be with the cries, the rallying cry and the war cry, to get damage boost, to get movement speed and resource generation. Obviously, you're also gonna have leap in there, which will help with your mobility, and once you get to it, the Call of the Ancients to just beef up a really nice burst. So let's get into it. Now, on the levels 2 towards 3, you will make sure to put points into Lunging Strike. Lunging Strike is used to like deal some decent damage, but also get close to your enemies. On level 3, you get access to Enhanced Lunging Strike. This will deal a percentage damage and will heal you for a percentage of your maximum HP when you damage a full-on healthy mob. This is really good, as it offers a little bit of sustain as well. On level 4, you make sure to take Hammer of the Ancients. This is your bread and butter ability for this build, obviously. And then at level 5, you take the little point Enhanced Hammer of the Ancients, which will gain you a percentage of Fury for 5 seconds or each enemy damaged by Hammer of the Ancients, and this will stack up to 10 times, making it really powerful when you gather up a nice good chunk of mobs. On level 6, you get another little point, Furious Hammer of the Ancients. Now, this will deal a percentage additional damage for each point of Fury you have. And I guess you can call this the skill involvement with the build, in the sense that you always have to make sure you're hitting with your Hammer of the Ancients whenever you are close to capping your resource. This will hit pretty hard. Moving on level 7, make sure to take the Battle Lunging Strike little point. This will also inflict 20% bleeding damage over 5 seconds. This will pair up really nicely with your weapon mastery. We'll get to that once we get to level 15, but also to another passive called Hamstring, which you will be able to get after spending 16 points in your talent tree. Get into that as well. Now, when we move to levels 8 towards like 21, there's a lot of focus here on mobility and damage amplifying stuff. So you started off at level 8 with Rallying Cry. Obviously, this is basically your biggest movement speed boost. It will increase your movement speed, but it will also increase your resource generation, your Fury generation. Not to mention, if you party up with people, they will also get the same buffs. Level 9, you get Enhanced Rallying Cry, another great option, as this will make it so that Rallying Cry will be able to get you out of CCs, as it will grant Unstoppable while this is active. Level 10 will be Tactical Rallying Cry. This will generate 20 Fury and will grant you an additional percentage of Fury generation. Again, helping out with getting to max Fury to be able to hit hard with that Hammer of the Ancients. Now, speaking of Hammer of the Ancients, once you get to levels 11 and 12, make sure to put points into Hammer of the Ancients just to beef it up even more. After this is like levels 13, 14, and 15. It's all about Leap. You put in their first point into Leap, and then you go into an Enhanced Leap. And this is really nice because if you don't hit any enemies, it will have its cooldown reduced by 4 seconds, making it a very nice tool to get to places if you don't have your mount yet. Power Leap, it will just be another increase to your Fury. So if you hit at least one enemy, you'll gain some Fury to your pool. Again, moving towards that big Hammer of the Ancients hit. Now, when you are at level 15, make sure to complete your class quest and unlock your mastery, because you will have to put the 2 swords in your technique slots to apply the bleeds and slows from the hamstring. Now, hamstring is this 1-pointer passive where you'll have your bleeds apply slow. So when you have like bleeds applying slow, then you can also look for items that have affixes such as damage to slow, damage to bleeding, damage to crowd control, and so on. It's really, really nice, and a lot of these abilities are like synergizing between each other. Moving on to like level 16 towards level 19, you have like the war cry enhancements. Obviously, you put 1 point in war cry. This is your first decent damage boost, with enhanced war cry also granting you berserking for 4 seconds. When you get to 18, this is the moment where you pick up your hamstring. I mean, if you have done Renown and this is an ult, you're probably going to get this a lot faster, but usually this is around the 18 level mark, where you get your bleeding effects having slow enemies for 10%. Then at level 19, make sure to pick up Mighty Warcry, as you will get a nice 4 to 5 for a percentage of your base life whenever you pop Warcry. Really good defensive-wise. Now, level 20s and 21, put points in Hammer of the Ancients to just beef it up even more. When you get to level 22 to 24, this is the place where you amplify your shouts. So you take Booming Voice and have your durations for audio shout effects increased by a percentage. Then you take Raid Leader. This will obviously help out with your survivability, as all of your shouts will also heal for a percentage of the maximum HP, you and your party. Once you get to level 25, this is the place where you get your ultimate, quote-unquote, Call of the Ancients. Really, really good. We all know this ability from past Diablo titles. You basically summon all of the nice Barbarian Ancients, Korlik, Talik, and Madok. And they all deal damage to everybody around, and they deal a lot of damage. At level 26, you get the little passive point, Prime Call of the Ancients, which will give you some nice boost to your damage, but also some nice increased attack speed. Level 27 is another point into Call of the Ancients. It's basically Supreme Call of the Ancients, and this will give you bonuses based on each Ancient. So Korlik will have you gain some Fury each time it attacks an enemy, and Talik will have your enemies slowed when he damages them with his Whirlwind. Really nice. And Madok will have his Upheaval, have a chance to stun your enemies around. At level 28, make sure to put some more points into Raid Leader to get even extra heals for your shouts. Level 29 and 30s, make sure to put even more points into Booming Voice to increase even further your bonuses from your shouts. Then levels 31 to 34, just dump everything into the Rallying Cry and have everything from your shouts be just giga improved. After you get at level 35 and moving forwards, Unbridled Rage is the passive point you have to put in, because this will greatly amplify your core abilities. They will also increase their Fury cost, but their damage, you're gonna feel the power spike, trust me. Level 36 will have Aggressive Resistance. This will be really awesome because you will get some more damage reduction while berserking, pairing up really, really nice with your enhanced work rate. Remember that enabled your work rate to grant berserking for 4 seconds. Levels 37 to 39, make sure to pick up Prolific Fury, and you just have more Fury generation moving forward. And then, once you get after 40, it's all about refining everything and unlocking, the last passive. So first off, you're gonna have Pit Fighter. This will deal a percentage damage to close enemy and get some damage reduction for like range mobs. Then you put in points into No Mercy. You have a percentage increased critical strike against CC'd mobs, and this again goes really, really nice with your mastery and with your hamstring passive, because bleeds will now slow, so this will always be there no matter what. Then you have heavy-handed, like when you use two-handed weapons, you deal a percentage increased critical strike damage. And last but not least, you have thick skin. Each time you take direct damage, you're gonna get another percentage of your base life as fortified. Alright, so these are the talents you have to look out for. It's very important to know that if you follow the story, once you get to Act 2, make sure to look out for the Sunken Ruins dungeons. This is in Skull's Glen. I'm gonna have it marked for you on the map right here. This is where you can find it. And once you complete this, this will award you with the legendary that makes or breaks this build. This is the offensive aspect of Ancestral Force, and it will just make your Hammer of the Ancients bigger. It will quake outwards, dealing a percentage of its damage to all of the enemies around. It's very, very vital to get this as soon as possible, and you'll definitely feel the difference. Now, through your journey leveling with the Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian, you'll come across a couple of nice legendaries, legendary aspects, and so on, and you're probably gonna wonder what stats should I look for, or what should I keep on myself. Like, in any legendary will be just fine as long as it's, you know, it's part of your kit and it will boost up your defensives. It'll pop a nice shield or a nice big chunk of fortify. There's cool legendaries that increase your attack speed, also really cool. But realistically, when leveling, what you're looking for is, you know, stuff like life and strength, you know, movement speed, the affixes on your rings and amulets. You know, look for like the critical strike damage, you know, critical strike chance, fury cost reduction, you know, movement speed, cooldown reduction for the other pieces of like armor and helmets and stuff, you know, skill ranks. This, like, when leveling, there's are not like the most important things in the world for you. Obviously, if you want to take it slow and enjoy the scenery and the story, that's all fine. But if you want to be as efficient as possible and get to level 50 and start doing your capstone dungeon, then it's not the best idea to just waste a lot of time in town trying to figure out what stats are going to be and what you're going to do, because you're going to get rid of those anyways once you get to the higher level content, right? But just to keep in mind, any legendary will work fine. You obviously, as I've said before, make sure when you get to Act 2 to get to the Sunken Ruins dungeon in Skull's Glen to get the Ancestral Force. That'll be like the most important. Other legendaries that drop for you will do just fine, no problemo. And keep in mind stats like cooldown reduction, you know, fury cost reduction, movement speed, critical strike damage, you know, critical strike chance, life, strength, and all of those. Those are really important, but shouldn't be your focus while leveling. The focus while leveling should just blast through and have fun. Now, for a couple of tips while going through the Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian leveling, it's pretty awesome to play. Once again, it doesn't require too much skill. You just have to make sure you always are at max fury before hitting with your hammer. And let's say like you're after like rolling in after level 24, you have all your abilities available, you know, your Call of the Ancients, your leaps, your war cries, you know, lunges, and the Hammer of the Ancients. So everything should be on the rhythm right now. There's a couple of things you have to keep in mind. When you go into packs of mobs, it's always best to like stagger a bit and gather them up nicely and then hit with your hammer, so you make sure you hit a lot of them. It's just more efficient that way, plus it hits way harder. Similar thing to like bosses, is best to like hit them with your max fury on, and they are like at close to max HP. And preferably if you can line up all of your cooldowns, all of your war cries and war cry and rallying cry, and also your Call of the Ancients, and having at max fury, that will be a big hit. This is like ideal. It will not happen all the time like that, but it is, let's say, a little bit of positioning sometimes to like gather some mobs before hitting with your Hammer of the Ancients. It's not the best build for single target fights like boss fights at the end of dungeons or whatever, but it will still hold its own just fine. Also, make sure to always get some nice elixirs from your alchemist. That 5% increase to experience is always nice, and you're gonna have some boss fights where you're probably gonna need some resistances, either fire or shadow. You'll figure it out, but make sure to always check out your alchemist, whatever you are, and have elixirs ready, because they're really useful for leveling and also for either boosting your damage or just boosting your defensives. Other than that, this should be it. Let me know in the comments if this worked out for you, if it helped you out, how you're performing, if you played it or not, or have you tried the whirlwind. We're going to cover that as well eventually. But first, we're going to have to cover the Hammer of the Ancients build in the end game. How will that develop after level 50 and moving towards some harder and harder content? Thank you for watching. Once again, if you enjoy this type of content, make sure to hit that subscribe and notification to be notified whenever we post a video. You don't want to miss any of these videos. Trust me, it's going to be a lot of them coming out. Have a great one, y'all. Bye.